with speed bar and big ears, I've got a lot of unknowns. So with those ones, is there any kind of conditions you would avoid doing those in? So for example, I've been on speed bar before and it's gotten turbulent. I'm not sure if it's appropriate for me to keep holding speed bar or holding big ears. I only heard recently that if you're on speed bar you shouldn't touch your brakes at all. I didn't know that. And that had me thinking, are there any deadly duos with those?
You could go to specifics, but I'm going to say one basic thing, which is as soon as you're on your speed bar, you put more energy into the system. Full stop. So
everything feels more.
And it's a square law. So if you've gone from 35 kilometres an hour to 50 kilometres an hour, then you have about 3 times as much energy in the system.
Which means you cut through the turbulence, don't put anything.
Which means when something does go wrong, it happens quicker and happens with more energy in it. But when it comes to, I think you're more current on.
So there's a couple of things in that. Basically, whenever you put your speed bar, put big ears in, you should go to at least half speed bar. And the reason is because normally your wing, for every time we go forward, we go down 1. So the air is meeting our wing at about this angle, 10 to 1. If you go into big ears, you suddenly take off like a third of your wing, so you descend quicker, but you're not going any quicker. So that means suddenly the air is coming in at this angle, which means that it's higher angle of attack, which is what causes stalls. So you remember that from school, that a stall is when the airflow, the wing gets higher and higher to the airflow until the air can't stick to the surface and it tumbles off. So going on to big ears, you start descending quicker. So putting speed bar on pulls the front of your wing down, because that's the 3 rises. It shortens the front one and pulls this down and pulls the front wing down so that it brings it back to a better angle of attack for the air onto the wing.
So it's a good duo.
Yep. So half speed bar is basically automatic. As soon as you pull your big ears in and they're stable, go to half bar.
What you do, Pete?
So you wouldn't recommend not using speed bar at all?
No.
Okay.
No, because you've got more of a chance of stalling, especially if you hit some turbulence or pop out of a thermal into sync, you'll probably stall the wing, and then you can't do anything because you're holding half your wing down with other lines. You don't have any control. So when you are on big ears and you've gone to half bar, don't keep your brakes in your hands. So you just basically fold those down, keep your brakes in your hand, and weight shift as hard as you can to steer. And actually, one of my first cross-country flights was at Kempton, which is really low airspace. It's just where Kempton is on the highway. And I kept getting sucked up. The thermals were amazing, and I kept hitting airspace. So I was on big ears for probably a third of that flight. And I was flying all around the valley, just holding big ears, and my arms were so sore from holding it on. And it was really rough. But I found that when I was on big ears, it was actually fine, because you've got higher wing loading because you've got less wing holding up the same amount of weight. So you get tossed around a little bit less. But the problem is you don't have any immediate control if you get some really big movements, and then you have to let those go, wait for your wing to reinflate before you can put a brake input in. So I'd recommend, if it is really rough when you're on big ears, to let them go, come off bar and get back on the brakes, and then just keep that resting pressure. Control it, and then as soon as it's smoothed out again, if you're trying to escape lift or get down or whatever, go back onto ears, back onto bar. And if you really want to get down fast, you can go to full speed bar, and I do on my gliders all the time, and I've never had anything. You just have to be prepared that if it starts to get a bit rowdy, you come back to half bar or come off entirely, just let it reset. And
so full bar in turbulence is a bit of a no-no, isn't it? Yeah, because it's pulling the front of the wing even further down. So if you get a sudden downward gust, air that's moving down, your wing can frontal and fold.
And you've got more of a problem close to the ground, so